Hello there. Perfectionism. It's a term we've all heard of before, right? And I have a quick question for you. After I finish it, you have 2 seconds to answer. If you were a kid who believed there were only 2 types of things in the world, good and bad, what category would you assign perfectionism to? Wait, actually, you don't have to answer. Not only because it wasn't the best question in the first place, but also because you have me right in front of you. That's right. As a person who used to be a fierce perfectionist, I'm gonna show you what it means to be the one and whether it's really worth it. And if some of you are wondering how exactly I'm gonna do that, I'm happy to tell you that I spent a lot of time researching this topic, and major points I'm gonna make will be proved by peer-reviewed studies. And by the end of this video, you'll clearly know what stance you should take when it comes to this interesting trait. Firstly, why do I care? Am I positive this is the topic we should be discussing today? Yes, I am. What if I tell you that according to a meta-analysis published in 2016, over the last 27 years, levels of all 3 types of perfectionism increased? Don't worry about the word types. I will explain to you in simple words a little later what every one of them means. But why the society in 2016 had more perfectionists than it used to have in 1989? Actually, we can't say for sure. That's a difficult and complex question to answer, but still let me describe what trends supposedly contributed to that shift. Some cultural changes may explain recent shifts in young people's sense of self and identity in close match processes important to perfectionism development. In the study I've just talked about, authors speculate they include tendency towards believing that those who reach the top schools in colleges or find profitable jobs receive their due rewards of wealth and social status, and that everybody is expected to perfect themselves and their lifestyles by striving to meet unrealistic achievement standards. And what's even more interesting, parents may also be thought to be responsible for the successes and failures of their children. Those are pretty high standards, don't you think? Actually, I tend to think extreme perfectionism is all about standards which don't have limits. In simple words, it is the drive to appear, feel, and be perfect. Yeah, even if the perfection you're looking for doesn't exist in real life. It doesn't matter. It is broadly defined as a combination of excessively high personal standards and overly critical self-evaluations. And it has become a topic that's more relevant than ever. And here is the thing, perfectionism isn't just a passing trend or a fleeting phenomenon, it's deeply rooted in our society, affecting people of all ages, genders, and backgrounds. The desire to achieve perfection is often praised and rewarded, so let's return to the first question of this video. Is it good or bad? Do you think I'll finally say that perfectionism is bad? No, I won't. But what I can tell you is that I'm sure it can be a double-edged sword. And before we discuss specific drawbacks and things you should be aware of, let's take a peek at one of the models of perfectionism that has been widely used by scientists. According to it, there are 3 kinds of perfectionism. Firstly, self-oriented. Let me put it this way. It's when you hold unrealistic expectations of yourself, believe that it's important to be perfect, and be quite critical of yourself. Second type is called socially prescribed. In this case, you believe that other people are overly demanding, that they judge you harshly, that you should keep up in order to get their approval. And the last one, well, let me ask first, did you notice the pattern? Self-oriented perfectionism is directed from you towards yourself, socially prescribed in turn from others towards you. So it's easy to guess that the last one will come from you towards others. That's correct. Other-oriented perfectionism means that you set unrealistic standards for those around you and evaluate them critically. So those were the 3 dimensions of perfectionism. And which one do you think you have fallen victim to more times throughout your life? When it comes to me, I think the second one rings the bell, especially when it comes to academic performance. I've always wanted to be the highest achiever, if you could measure your success using school grades. So about that double-edged sword, can perfectionism be healthy? Some of its features can be. This is what's called adaptive perfectionism. I believe some extent of perfectionism can motivate you to put intense effort and achieve your goals. Competition is so strong nowadays, they say, and it's probably stronger than a couple of decades ago. And this channel is about competition as well, being the best version of yourself, achieving something great, becoming stronger, healthier, better. And at times, the most convenient thing to do to measure your success in some areas of your life is to look at others. It makes you think what you should improve. It makes you think how you can excel, how you can be better. As a kid, I was in an environment in which soccer was the most popular and discussed sport, and I was a part of the era of one of the greatest rivalries in sports history, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. And I once saw an interview where Cristiano was asked whether Messi pushed him forward and motivated him to be great, and he said no. I'm not sure whether he was absolutely honest at that moment, can't speak for himself though. As for me, not many things motivate as much as competition with others. It can be extreme and make people go wild, but when it's kind of moderate, it creates enough pressure to leave your comfort zone and put in some effort. Pressure to be great, pressure to persevere, pressure to be rich, have a cool partner, look aesthetic, dress good, be confident. So I believe external factors do play a huge role. It's sometimes about what others think, about your feeling of importance in the eyes of your parents, coaches, teachers, friends, significant other, your followers. Perfectionists want to create an image of being flawless. Don't think I'm a perfectionist anymore. I'm not totally delusional about my flaws. I mean, not totally, only partly. And I know I'm far from being perfect. If you know somebody pretty good, you also know that they aren't perfect. No doubt. If you think you're close to being flawless, just ask your siblings to write a list of your bad traits. They'll easily come up with many of them. Now, as I promised, I moved to the part of the video in which I talk about proof dangerous of perfectionism. Sounds cool. Research among late elders, for example, has found self-oriented perfectionism to be positively associated with clinical depression, anorexia nervosa, and early death. And perfectionistic concerns, strivings, parental criticism, and parental expectations displayed small to moderate positive associations with suicide ideation. So that all or nothing thinking may be detrimental for your health and emotional well-being. But isn't perfectionism is what is necessary in order to succeed? Actually, perfectionists are more like overachievers. While striving for excellence can be a positive trait, perfectionism takes it to an extreme.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
It's the constant need to be flawless, the fear of making mistakes, and the pressure to meet impossibly high standards. And if you want to be successful, you gotta be okay with the idea of making mistakes at times. Especially when you're new to something, you're prone to make mistakes more often. For example, I love going to the gym and building a body which I consider aesthetic. I think I'm pretty good at it. My technique is much better than it used to be. I can lift much more weight than when I started, and I recently started skateboarding. I'm an amateur, a total amateur, and it's okay. It's a long progress of small improvements until I finally learned something. It took several months to land an ollie, and it's a basic movement. Lots of people can do that easily, like in their sleep. But this is when you should be okay with the idea of spending some time in making some, maybe even many, mistakes. Now let's talk about procrastination. This topic is so common nowadays. If you don't know what it is, this word means delaying the commencement or completion of a planned behavior or delay of making a decision. It can occur at school, work, daily activities, obligations, free time, family and partnership, as well as in social contacts. Although it occurs in various areas, it is most commonly associated with education and work, due to external and specific deadlines set for the completion of a task or a job. And actually, perfectionism and procrastination are kind of related. According to one study, maladaptive perfectionism was a positive predictor of procrastination, while academic achievement, self-efficacy, and adaptive perfectionism were all negative predictors. Perfectionism becomes unhealthy when there is an unrealistic attempt at reaching excessively high or even impossible goals. Although society generally views perfectionism as a positive trait, as we've already seen, it can have negative effects and maybe even stand between you and success. So what does it take to be an overachiever? Overachievers tend to believe that the only thing that matters is reaching the outcome. And sometimes they may think that being imperfect is a sign of failure. This may lead to being overly self-critical and more worried about the future. I can confidently say that I'm too focused on the future sometimes. These moments you become somewhat detached from your present moment and can't really enjoy it, because you're being worried about your future too much. And speaking of self-criticism, I believe not only you should learn to forgive yourself, but also learn to deal with criticism from others. You know, I have a small channel. The quality is still far from being ideal, and I've asked my little brother for feedback many times, and sometimes it wasn't something I wanted to hear. But that's the point. Even from tough critique from him, I always managed to find some things that were really helpful. They got me back down to the earth. And if by any means you want to add something, maybe critique, you're always welcome. I read all the comments and respond as soon as I get the chance to. So if you notice something that you believe needs to be changed, you're so welcome to mention it in the comments. Now let's sum up real quick. Perfectionism at its core is the pursuit of excellence. I consider it as a topic that demands our attention. It has become more common lately and have some implications for health, longevity, productivity, and emotional well-being. It can be healthy, but that's not always the case. Thank you for being with me up until this point. I truly hope this video is helpful. Subscribe if you want to see more, and definitely have a good day.